before we start, I want to show you something. If you can see this. Okay, this is a temporary tattoo. I'm mentioning it because I thought you might be able to see it and wonder what it is. And I want to tell you how I got it. My friend Dan comes over one time, and he's covered, with sleeves. And I'm like, dude, I didn't know you had all this ink. And he's like, oh, no, these are temporary tattoos. My wife and I both get them, and we'll put them on each other once a month, or they'll pick and, we'll put them on and wear them around. And I thought, that's really cool. I would like to do that with my wife, Sarah, because it's fun. Well, guess what, guys? About 3 weeks ago, Dan died suddenly, and he was in his mid-50s. It was shocking. It was brutal. And I went to his celebration of life last Saturday, and they had all of his tattoos that he had left behind, and there were a bunch of them. And so a lot of the party guests, myself included, put them on to honor Dan, and it's still there a little bit. Anyway, I'm telling you this story not just because to explain why my arm looks like this, but two other reasons. First of all, I want to once again honor my friend Dan, who was an awesome person and made the world a much better place, but also because I wanted you guys to know something too. I want you to invest like you're going to live forever. But I want you to live like you might die tomorrow. Because you know what? You might. And I don't mean to be morbid. I just mean squeeze all that you can out of life. And if you can, take along some other people with you. Okay? So now we can start talking about money. Let me see who's with us so far. I have to put on my glasses in order to see the questions. Oh, I'm coming through fine. Thank you. And hello to you guys. I have a question I want to ask you guys. This has nothing to do with money. We'll get into money in a second, though. The question I have is this. Do you answer your phone? If somebody calls and you don't know who it is, if their name doesn't come up on your screen, do you answer your phone? And I just want to see what you guys think, if you guys do that. Anyway, let's start with some stuff. Actually, what just happened this morning was the unemployment report, it came in much hotter than expected. More people found jobs than was predicted, about 100,000 more. And that kind of means that, or it kind of suggests that we might be coming in for a soft landing. In other words, when the Fed raised interest rates, that's supposed to slow down the economy. But what typically happens is they do it too much and they keep it too long, and the economy goes into a recession. When they're able to bring down rates and the economy doesn't go into a recession, that's called a soft landing. And the fact that obviously interest rates have started to drop, they're going to continue to drop, and looks like we're going to avoid a recession. And the reason I'm saying that and what mattered today was because the unemployment report had more people employed than they expected. So it looks like the economy is not crashing. So it looks like maybe we're going to have a soft landing. That's good for the stock market. And in fact, the stock market is up today. Okay, now let's talk about some questions. Oh, we've got a whole bunch of people here. Let me just take a quick second and look over. Where are they? Oh, okay. People are saying that. Yeah, so I'm not the only one who doesn't answer the phone, right? Yeah, looks like a lot of other people don't either. Never, never, never. Yeah. Yeah, anyway. So does it make you wonder why these people are bothering to call us if we're not going to answer the phone? I mean, that just seems like a fruitless exercise, So why do they keep doing it if nobody's answering their phone? I don't understand that. Anyway, how about a question? Let's talk for a minute about Social Security. When should I claim Social Security is a really common question. Now, I'm 69. And I have not claimed Social Security. Obviously, I will next year because I have no choice. You don't get any benefit by waiting until after age 70. So I'm going to be claiming next year. But a lot of people think they should claim sooner. And I used to say, in fact, I've written this in books, wait till 70 because you make more money that way. And you make significantly more. You make more than 30% more than if you start at 62, which is the earliest time that you can start taking it. Now, and I used to say that's just the deal. You wait till you're 70. And then I got a little older, got a little wiser, and I'm thinking that's not always true. Now, for me, it's really easy for me to wait till 70. Why? Because I'm sitting here in my air-conditioned job at my desk, in my home. So it's obvious. It's no problem for me to wait till 70. Plus, I have an adequate income. In fact, I have a great income. So I don't really need the money. Now, imagine, though, there are other people, maybe they're working on an assembly line. Maybe they're a boat mechanic and their knees are giving out. There's a million reasons why you may not be. Maybe you hate your job. And I happen to love my job. That's why I'm still doing it. So there is no right answer, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But if you can, and if it's not killing you, and you're healthy, and you don't need the money, waiting until 70 does make sense. And I'll tell you why by asking another question I get a lot. Why shouldn't I just claim early at like 62, take the Social Security that I don't need, and invest it? And a lot of people think that's the way to go. That could be the way to go. However, what you're doing when you're not taking your Social Security is your benefit is getting 8% bigger every year. So if you can earn 8% with no risk, and by the way, an inflation kicker, because it's pegged to inflation, right? If you can do that, great. Take the money and invest it in the stock market, where else you want to put it. But I don't think you can earn 8% with no risk in the stock market. And you certainly don't get an automatic inflation adjustment every year either, right? Cost of living increase. So in my opinion, if you can, you wait till you're 70. If you don't need the money, it's a simple way to earn 8% a year, along with my cost of living increase. And then when you get to be 70, you'll have more. And also, by the way, if you should die, if you're a man, or whoever, if your spouse can get your benefit. So the bigger your benefit is, the more your spouse is going to benefit from that. Okay. That's one question I had. Let me just take a look over here and see what's going on. Okay, I just want to make sure nobody's asked me a question. Oh, here's one. If we're not having a recession, why has U.S. manufacturing activity shrank for 6 months straight? Sonia, this is somebody that I know. The manufacturing activity has slowed, absolutely. But what you want to do is slow down, because you want to slow down the economy, right? How do you do that? You raise interest rates. And so that does slow down the economy, because obviously when interest rates are higher, few people are financing stuff like cars and houses and all kinds of other stuff. The economy slows down. And so you want the economy to begin to shrink and manufacturing jobs to erode somewhat. And this is what a soft landing is. You want the economy to not overheat. You're tapping the brakes, right? That's what you're doing with interest rates. So you want to do that, but you don't want to slam on the brakes and hit a wall, and all of a sudden the unemployment rate goes up to 8%, right? So what they've done, I think they've done a hell of a job so far. A lot of people think they should have raised rates sooner and cut them sooner, but that's what a soft landing is. It's tapping the brakes so the economy gets a little better. Slows down some, but not slamming on the brakes so the economy hits a brick wall and everybody gets unemployed. Make sense? Okay. By the way, I'm going to stop right here too, because I'm looking over here and it says on my screen, promote our podcast. So we do podcasts too. And I want you guys to pay attention to them. I want you to listen to them. I want you to tell all of your friends about them. I want it to be the most exciting thing that you've ever done. We also have Instagram. Hate Instagram? Don't know what Instagram is? I don't care. Follow me anyway, because it helps me. So follow us on Instagram. I hope, obviously, I'm assuming that you're getting our newsletter. If you're not, well, that's just crazy. You need to get our newsletter right away. But do check out our podcast, and do follow us on Instagram. You're on our Facebook page, I'm assuming. Whatever you can to help, we appreciate. Okay, now going on. Let's see if I've got any other questions here. Not yet. Okay, now. Is Social Security in trouble? That's a question I get a lot. Social Security is not in trouble. Yes, it could run out of money, but it's probably not going to. Let me tell you something. I was a stockbroker for E.F. Hutton. I began working there in 1981. And you know what one of the pitches we used to get people to invest with us? It was that Social Security is going to go away. Really? You think this is new? It's not new. This is, what is 1981? 45 years ago, or almost 40 something. Social Security is probably not going to go away. Now, what has happened over that 40-year period is that more and more of my income has been subject to Social Security. A lot more. Also, they've raised the retirement age, right? It used to be 65 for everybody, and now, depending on when you were born, it's 66, or 66 and change even for some people. So they've made adjustments to Social Security, but imagine a scenario, if you would, that you're a politician, and the only people who are pretty much guaranteed to vote are people getting Social Security, or people who see it, that light at the end of the tunnel. Do you think you're going to cut it off? I don't think you're going to, because that would just be an outrageous thing to do. What they'll do, though, is they'll do things like they've done. They'll start taking take Social Security out of more of your income. And in fact, there are proposals now to take Social Security out no matter how high your income is. Right now, if your income is over $168,000, they don't take Social Security out anymore. That used to be about 120, I think. Not long ago, to me at least. But they're trying to make it, if your income's $1 million, then they take it on the whole $1 million. Now, that's a proposal. That has not occurred. But there are things they can do, is the point, to adjust Social Security. I would be shocked if Social Security went away. Really, I would be. I don't think it will. It may get smaller too. That's a possibility. But I'm going to get mine. I'm almost 70. Anyway, how about the stock market? Do you guys think the stock market's overvalued? I think we talked about this the last Facebook Live we did a couple of weeks ago. I think it is. In fact, I don't think it is. I know it is. The stock market's definitely overvalued. The problem is it can stay that way for a long period of time. And in fact, has been that way for a long period of time. It's been that way for at least a year and probably more. And there's a lot of factors that determine whether the stock market's overvalued or not. But the most common metric that we use is the price earnings ratio. Based on that, it's way overvalued. Now, does that mean you should get out of the stock market? I'm assuming that most of you, I certainly have a lot of my money in the stock market. I don't have 40%, but I have 30% probably my net worth in the stock market. As my net worth has gone up, there was Will Rogers Jr., I think, he said, I'm more concerned with the return of my money than the return on my money, right? So I'm less exposed to the stock market than I used to be, but I still have a lot of money in the stock market. Am I afraid? Should I take it out? No, I'm not going to do that. And if you are afraid, let me give you a simple rule of thumb. If you're worried, like let's say the market's going to fall 30%, 50% tomorrow, does that freak you out? Because if it does, you got too much money in the stock market. If you're lying in bed looking at the ceiling at night because you're worried about the stock market, you need to take some money out, because this is a simple thing to know. I've got well over $1 million in the stock market. If it falls 50% tomorrow, hey, I'm bummed, but it's okay. It's okay. And if you're in a situation where you can't answer the question the way I just did, then you got too much money in the market. I don't care how much you have. I don't care what percent of your net worth. If it's bothering you, if you're going to worry about it, don't do it. And again, these platitudes. Yeah, you should have 40%, 50%, 60% when you're young. Take your age from 100. I've used all these things before, these platitudes. But the truth is, if your stress level won't allow you to be comfortable with a significant portion of your long-term savings in stocks, don't do it. You will, however, most likely end up poorer than you would had you kept more in. But having less stress is more important than anything else. If you're freaked out all the time, then what's the point of having money? Okay, let me see if there's any questions here. Okay, yeah, Kim just said he used to look every day. Now I look at the stock market every day. Okay, that's a lie. I look at the stock market 50 times every day. I look at it more often when it's going up and less often when it's going down. But I check the value of my portfolio. I use Market Watch, and I have my stocks loaded in there along with how much I paid for them and everything. So at any given moment, I can tell you how much. I'm sorry, I'm checking it right now. Let's see my watch list. So right now I'm up $9,370 today. So I look. Point is, I look at it all the time, but I don't worry about it. I don't freak out about it. I mean, I've been up 50 grand and down 50 grand in a day, and that's what I'm comfortable with. You know, I've done this for 40 years. So if you're not comfortable, pare back. And I do think the market. And now I'll tell you one thing I will do though. I don't try to time the market, not because I can tell sometimes when I think the market's going to go down, but I'm not going to get out. And I'll tell you why. Because you got to make two decisions. One, you got to determine when to get out, and then you've got to determine when to get back in. And I've made that mistake before. I sold a stock. It was Apple, actually. This is 2008, a long time ago. But I sold Apple because I thought the market was going to go down. And sure enough, it did. And then guess what happened? It went back up. But it went back up without me because I was still standing on the sidelines like a deer in the headlights. So it's very difficult to time the market. That being said, let me tell you this other thing, though. I won't buy stocks right now because the market's overvalued. I've made well over $1 million in the stock market. And most of that has come not from being smart, but from looking around and seeing what I think is going to work well, like iPhones, and then waiting for the market to go down. And then when the market goes down, I load up. I bought a whole bunch of stocks in 2009, March of 2009, almost at the very bottom of the market. It was just blind luck. That has nothing to do with anything. But I knew that, you know, when you get stocks that are going, when the market's really, really horrible and everyone's nothing but doom and gloom on the horizon, right? Like the sky is falling. Well, then there's only two situations. Either you need to get a shotgun and some canned food, or you need to back up the truck and buy some stocks. You know what I'm saying? Because GE is not going out of business. You know, IBM is not going out of business. Apple's not going out of business. And if it's half the price today than it was 3 weeks ago, it might be a good thing to buy. So, and obviously Warren Buffett has said this too. You know, buy when nobody else will and sell when everybody's buying. He said it a different way. I forgot exactly what it is, but anyway, and that's exactly what you do. And that's what you learn. You know how I knew to do that? To buy when everything sucked? Because I stood on the sidelines for so long. I mean, this isn't we've had recessions. We have a cyclical economy. And I've made that mistake. You know, I stood there waiting because everybody said, don't buy stocks now. You know, and I stood there waiting and then I didn't. And then I went, God damn, that was stupid. You know, so the third time around, 2008 or so, 2009 it was, I said, well, I remember missing this before. I remember being an idiot. So this time I'll buy some stocks. And I did, and I'm very happy that I did. But not buying now because I think the market's too high. Okay. I have a while to retire, but I have read about the 4% rule, withdrawing 4% of my savings each year. Is this still true? It can be true. It can be true. It's not a bad way to go. I mean, when interest rates were super low, people were saying the 60-40 mix or the 4% rule is dead. I don't really think that's true. I think the 4% rule is good. And, you know, that takes me back to a question that I had that I was going to put up, which was, how much is enough? How much do you need to retire? We did a podcast yesterday on this exact topic. And I think, you know what, guys, there's so much in the personal finance business that's just bullshit. And I mean, there are some rules of thumb, but the problem is that people become convinced that these aren't rules of thumb, that they're actually rules. For example, I need 60% of my income when I retire, of my working income when I'm retired. You've heard that before? It's crap. It might not be crap. Could be true. But it could be that I plan on living on an ocean liner, for $2 million and getting a room and going around the world on it. I mean, there's a million different things that you're going to do when you retire, right? And there's a million different ways of looking at the world. If you're going to just sit in the same place and do the exact same things, maybe 60% will work for you. But what's really important is to know, A, how much you're spending now, because you certainly can't learn. I mean, you can't get any kind of estimation of what you're going to need if you don't know how much you're spending. So you obviously have to know what you're spending now, and hopefully have an idea what you're going to spend when you retire. And then you can just back into it. Here's another thing we were talking about on the podcast too, though. Let's say that interest rates are 10%. I've got $1 million. Therefore, I'm going to have $100,000 a year when I retire. And guess what happens? Interest rates go to 0.5. Now what? Or I need to save up $5 million because interest rates are 0.5. Now interest rates go to 10. I mean, so the point is this. There is no way to know how much money you're going to need when you retire. The way you guess is to know how much you're spending now, estimate how much you might spend when you retire, look at your investments, see how much they're paying, include Social Security, see how much it's going to give you, and then make an educated guess, realizing that it's just a guess. So I said this on the podcast. I'm going to repeat it now because it's a good story. When I learned to sail many years ago, the guy who was teaching me, actually renting me a boat, I said, "How big of a boat do you need to sail across the ocean?" And he said, "Well, the biggest boat you can afford." And that's true, right? And this is true with retirement too. How much do you need? As much as you can possibly save. Because you know what? You can always blow off the excess, right? You can buy a bigger boat. But it's better to have too much than it is to have too little. Anyway, let's see if we've got any other questions. I don't know how much time we've been on. Oh, gosh, already 24 minutes. Okay, if the market is overvalued and our savings are in high-yield accounts, what is the right move now? I would say the right move is to stay where you are. I mean, if you've got nothing in the stock market, it's great to dollar cost average in. So let's say you've got $100,000 in your high yield savings account. Interest rates are starting to drop on that. They're still high, but they're starting to drop. Maybe you put $10,000 a month into the S&P 500. Because that way, if the market does continue to go higher, then you're in. And obviously, if it goes down, then you're going to buy that S&P 500 index fund at lower prices. Dollar cost averaging is one of the few systematic ways of making money, mathematically provable ways of making money in the stock market. So I think you should be moving a little. And in fact, I did put some money into an S&P 500 index fund when the market took a dip a couple of months ago. But I'm just not, going whole hog. And now Natalie says Trinity method. What's the Trinity method? I don't know what that is. Okay, Michael says, your thoughts on paying off a mortgage early with 2.3% interest rate or invest the money? Me, Michael, I'd invest that money. A friend of mine's a mortgage broker, and I own my house free and clear, and it's worth about $1.5 million. It's just the way things are in Florida. Don't think I'm like hoity-toity. This is an expensive place to live. Anyway, I was going to take out $1 million mortgage when interest rates were 2 because I thought they can't go much lower. And now they're 5, that would have been a great arbitrage, right? So I would leave a 2% mortgage if it were me. And also the other advantage of that too. In fact, during the recession, the 2008, 2009, I had a bunch of cash because I didn't pay off my mortgage. I had enough money to pay it off and I didn't. And that mortgage was, I don't know now, 4%, I forgot, 5, whatever it was. But what happened was my next door neighbor died. And I was able to buy his house for $360,000 cash because no one's lending money then, right? So I went with a friend of mine. I didn't actually have $360,000 at that time. And I went with a friend of mine. We paid cash for the house. Now, had I paid off my mortgage, there was no time for me to take out another mortgage, so I could buy the guy's house. So, I was happy to have the cash. So point being, if you have a use for the cash, especially, investing is good, then yes, keep the cash, leave the mortgage alone. I mean, the math, obviously, if you can earn 2 point, and plus, you might have a deduction on that 2.3% mortgage rate. Hard to get now, but you might, if you do, that's even better. But even so, all you got to do is beat 2.3%. Well, you can put it in a treasury bill and beat that. So, I mean, you'd kind of be crazy not to do that. On the other hand, there's always another hand. On the other hand, some people want the comfort and convenience of knowing they have no debt. And that's awesome. You know, so it's not just about dollars and cents. And I think it's really important to be debt free. I hate debt. It makes me feel like I've got a ball and chain. And so some people, so if you said, I don't care, I'm going to pay off my mortgage, I'd say, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. I could see doing that too. Okay, math though, you're better off obviously arbitraging. Oh, okay, Natalie just explained the 4% rule is a Trinity study. Okay. I did not know that. There are things, I was wondering, you know, when I started doing this, just getting questions on the fly, I was thinking, should I just say I don't know when I don't know? Or should I be like a politician and just start answering all kinds of other bullshit stuff that you didn't even ask me, or pretend like I know? Now, that time I said I didn't know, but in the future, I may go the political route. Okay, let me see if we got everything answered here. I think I do. Oh, the VIX is over 35. You guys know what the VIX is? It's a volatility gauge. It is a measure of how much, basically whether people are betting that the stock market's going to go down. So if you've got a bunch of money in the stock market, you can buy options on the VIX. Volatility index is what it stands for. And then if stocks go down, that goes up. So it's a hedge, right? I didn't know the VIX was at 35. That's big. Because usually it's about 15, 20. Oh, she's saying that's when the stock market's overvalued. Okay. Now he knows a lot about the stock market. So the VIX isn't 35 now. It's around 20, isn't it? I don't know. Anyway, I think we filled up a half hour already. I hope you guys have had a good time. I always have a good time. You know why? I like listening to myself talk. Ask my wife. Ask my friends. They'll tell you. But I'm going to go ahead, unless anybody's got anything burning. Let me make sure. Oh, yeah, I know. Natalie's telling me when the VIX was over 35. I remember that. Good. I'm glad you thought it was fun, Natalie. I thought it was fun, too. Enough politics. What politics? Did I talk about politics? Actually, I will talk about politics real quick. See this? This is my vote by mail. Anyway, maybe you guys got one too. I just got it yesterday. I would encourage you to vote. I think that a lot of times politicians don't matter. This isn't one of those times. It could affect your health. It could affect your wealth. So do a little reading, be a little informed. Nothing drives me crazier than people knowing where Kim Kardashian had lunch, but they don't know who the hell is running for president. I mean, that just drives me batshit. So do some reading, form an opinion, and then exercise your democratic rights, please. Okay, I just got a note from my producer saying, don't forget to push the podcast. So do me a favor, all bullshit aside. Go to Instagram right now and just follow Mr. Retire Rich or Money Talks News. Mr. Retire Rich is me. I do little videos and whatnot. And follow Money Talks News. Subscribe to our newsletter if you're not already. And listen to our podcast. You'll hear more of the same stuff, except for other people's voices, which might make it more interesting for you. Okay, I think we are about done. You're welcome, Larry. I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your busy day to spend a few minutes with me. And we're going to do this again. I'm going to leave you with one last thought, and that is this. Remember, money does not buy you happiness. However, if you're already happy, money's a riot. So get as much as you can, but be happy in the meantime. Okay, guys, I want you to have a super great weekend, and I will see you right here 2 weeks from now. Take care, guys.